The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NBA.
Boston Celtics snapped the Cavs streak. It wasn't perfect, but the way they did it was important. The Celtics have the belt. The Celtics break the streak. The Celtics are now the best team in the NBA again, right? That's how it works. The Cavs made this interesting in the third quarter. It was funny in the third quarter. Celtics go up 21. Jason Tatum hits a three-pointer. You could feel the game start to slow down. You could feel the Cavs make a couple of baskets. The Celtics offense, all of a sudden, you could just tell it was different. Joe Mazzulla calls a timeout after just 6 or 5 points from the Cavs, and the Cavs go on this massive run, cut it down to 2 in the fourth quarter. They have chances to tie. They have chances to make this a game, brand new game. But we've seen a million times in basketball, if you can't make that cut, if you can't get all the way back to a lead, if you can't come back and get that thing tied, if you're making that run from the third quarter and you just can't get over that hump somewhere in that fourth quarter, then you're just never going to have a chance, right? You need to take the lead before the other team can answer. And the Celtics had their answer before the Cavs could take a lead. And it's just, they were down 21. If they had taken that 1 or 2 point lead early in the fourth quarter, I think they would have won this game. We've seen that happen a bunch to the Celtics, against the Celtics. The Celtics doing it to other teams. So credit to the Cavs for making that run. The Celtics kind of slipped a little bit, and once you slip against the Cavs, it gets to be very, very difficult, and they can make their run pretty quickly. But credit the Celtics now for that fourth quarter. Al Horford was huge. I think the turning point in this game were the 2 block shots that he had. It's about 4.5 minutes to go. The Celtics had just made it a 5-point game. Al Horford gets a block. You come down. Derek White hits a 3. Al Horford goes down the other end on the defensive end, gets another block. Derek White came down, and the next 3-pointer just barely missed. If that 3 had fallen and made it an 11-point game, the building would have come down. It just would have been insane. It was already, the momentum was building. If Derek White had hit that second 3-pointer and you went block 3, wow, that would have been one of the all-time stretches for the Celtics. But they still managed to come back and close the door. Thank you, Jaylen Brown, for closing the door after a tough game. I'll talk a little bit more about Jaylen Brown later on, and why just as this was a nice kind of a reminder of how far Jaylen Brown has come. Not that it's not a sign, because he's already come this far, right? He's already been the conference finals and finals MVP. But a game like this just makes you think back. You're like, wow, man, I remember when Jaylen wouldn't have this kind of game shooting the way he did. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. The Celtics didn't get a ton from their bench. Peyton Pritchard got 13 points and hit 3 of 6, including a big one in the fourth quarter. But the bench, he was a -14. Hauser, -13. Nemish Queta was a -15. Queta was in there for that big stretch. It was getting relentless what the Cavs were doing to Queta. I asked Joe Mazzulla about it after the game. Basically, he said, if you're gonna trust these guys, you got to trust them through everything. You got to give him that chance, which is, look, a little bit of a confidence builder in a way, because you don't get pulled, and if you're getting pulled, if you're getting targeted, you get pulled. Maybe he feels like that can break his confidence. Maybe he felt like there was nowhere else to go. So the Celtics kept Kata in there, and he kept getting targeted, and he just kept giving up points after points after points. It was a bad stretch there, but I think that the Celtics withstood it very well. I wondered if they would have gone to maybe a smaller lineup at that point, something that was a little bit more capable of switching in that moment, but they stuck with Kata. I guess I guess it paid off because they won, but still the Celtics, you know, I would have liked to see something different, but that's not the story of this game. That's just the flow of this game. First quarter was just a barrage of first quarter. Actually, they started a little slow, I want to say, in the first quarter. I think they were trying too hard in the first quarter. They were really attacking. It looked a little more frantic in the first quarter than it did. They settled down. They settled into the game. 5 of 11 from 3 in the first quarter, 9 of 11 from 3 in the second quarter. That's when the barrage really started to happen. They started to build their lead. And then they got into that third quarter. Fourth quarter, big answer with the Al Horford blocks. Jaylen Brown with the big finish. So the Celtics, did they send a message in this game? Maybe. Did they need to send a message? I mean, and there's a lot of like discussion after a game like this. Ooh, statement win. You know, the Cavs were 15-0 and the Celtics made that statement. We're still the team to beat. And yes, they did in a way, but did they need to? Did anybody really think that the Cavs were like suddenly better than the Celtics? No. They were 15-0. They had an incredible run to start the season. And to be fair, they were missing a bunch of guys in this game. They didn't have Karis LeVert. They didn't have Dean Wade. So they were missing guys. They didn't have Max Strus. So important players for the Cavs. So when the Celtics play them again in a couple of weeks, that will be a little bit different. But no one sat there and was like, well, the Cavs are clearly better than Boston now. It's just that they went on a big run to start the season. And I think the Cavs have given themselves a nice cushion and will probably finish in top 2, maybe 3, depending if one of these other teams can get themselves together. But probably this is probably the top 2. It's not about the Celtics making a statement. After the game, Al Horford said, no, it's about us. And I think that's right. I think how they did this and why this is more about them than making any sort of statement, I think that's the more important thing. I think that's the biggest takeaway.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if they win that first bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And that winning $5 bet could be on some early season NBA basketball. The Sixers' first chance to turn things around comes on the road against the Grizzlies. FanDuel likes the Sixers to win, has them laying 2 points. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Dalton Knecht scores 37.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast.
37 points on a cartoonish 9 of 11 from 3-point range. Again, not from the free throw line, not from the floor, from 3-point range. Dalton Knecht shoots a 9 of 11, and he just keeps on rolling. He was hot, Andy, coming into this game. He left even hotter. Do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app and use the code LOCKEDONNBA. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. Don't even win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Hope you picked more than Dalton Knecht 8 3-pointers. You win. 8.5 threes. Congratulations. Hope they were juiced odds. Juiced payout.
It is, and there was a lot of stuff, and I know like it was the joyless among us will focus on how they didn't, they let the Utah stay in it too long and this and that.
Go find a different show, joyless
right,
folks.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Come back the next day.
Right.
Come back the next day. We want you back. But for this one day,
we're not doing
you are
that.
Looking for tearing these guys a new one for not maintaining the focus of the first half, ain't happening tonight, Sally.
Yeah. And it's one of these deals where look, because the reality of it is the Lakers were in control of this game throughout. They got off to a great start and
great defensive start.
Right. And we'll get to that. Stayed that way throughout the scene. Like there was never any real threat of them losing this game. We're just not doing that tonight. There was a lot to like. Anthony Davis had a phenomenal game. He was fantastic. LeBron played a great game. Both of those guys had 26 points. LeBron was 9 of 17 from the floor. Anthony Davis, 10 of 15 from the floor. LeBron had 12 assists. AD had 14 rebounds. He had 6 assists. He had 2 steals. Like those guys were great. We'll get to the contributions of Cam Reddish over this course of this game. JJ Redick was effusive in his praise for D'Angelo Russell, and rightly so, for a lot of the work that he did in his 26 minutes of play. But Andy, this game is about Dalton Knecht. It is about. We've had Fernando Mania in LA. We've had Nomo Mania. We've had whatever it was called when Manny got here.
Mannywood.
We're like
named it Mannywood.
Right, but it had no mania. It had no mania. Is my point. It wasn't like Manny Mania.
It might have been.
It was, but it wasn't called that. We're like one more of these, I think, away from Connectomania in LA if we're not there already.
Put this night in perspective: 37 points. He had 21 of them in the third quarter. 9 threes, the most ever for a Laker rookie. He tied an NBA rookie record in the process for threes. He's the 4th Laker ever to hit 9 threes in a game. More from Lakers media relations department. The 37 points, most for a Laker rookie since Kyle Kuzma had 38 in 2017. Also, just for those into the history of the Lakers, that 38 tied Kuzma and Jerry West. Most points ever for a Laker rookie, D'Angelo Russell with 39. He's also just the 2nd rookie in NBA history to record 37-plus points and 9 threes in a game. Like just an absolutely spectacular night, complete with, and just like serious for the kid having the awareness to do this. After I'm not sure which 3 it was, he actually turned around and gave a shrug, like the MJ shrug, and he earned all of that showmanship. It was just fan-effing-tastic.
The way this because since the Dalton Knecht hot streak started, this is game 5 of the something's going on. I think he might have broken out of his early season slump. We're on game 5 of that. He was over his last 4 games coming into Tuesday night was shooting, I want to say 53%, 53% from 3-point range in that stretch, and raised that to like 65 in this game. The impact of a player like this, because it's not just a guy who can come in and score. It's not just a guy who can come in and a bunch of shots. There is something very specific about what 3-point shooters do for your team that is different than other stuff. And it's comprehensive. You saw, and it's even just start with energy. Like the crowd was going insane for this. The bench was going insane for this. It picks up the energy of the team in ways that very few things do when you see somebody just rip off 3, 4, 5 threes in a row.
Anybody who has watched the Warriors over the years has seen this effect with Steph or Clay or Steph and Clay. Like when you have nights like this where it just seems like a dude is unconscious and there is nothing you can do about it. And look, Knecht was not guarded in ways like Steph and Clay typically were, because he hasn't earned that yet.
Typically guarded at all.
Right. It is the Utah Jazz, but just the biggest, you and I were texting about this, the biggest reason, and this is why also we're not particularly mad about them only winning by 6. We both think the biggest reason that the Lakers got sloppier defensively, lost some focus, is everybody was so caught up in what Knecht was doing, they kind of forgot about the whole, we still got to play a game thing.
Right.
Like,
and
we still got to actually execute.
It was 6, got to like, some of that was like late. There was, again, no real threat the Lakers were going to lose this game. But his first 2 threes, for example, I know the first one, I think the first 2 were both corners.
Yes, they were.
Corner threes. Uncovered corner threes from a guy. You really been working hard, Andy, digging up memes.
Yes, I have. I was excited about this night.
That's 2 today that I've counted that are new to the show.
Very excited.
Really, just a reminder, you really should be watching on YouTube if you can, because Andy's Andy's working hard.
Yes, he is.
Those were 2 because Knecht moves very well without the ball, and so you see uncovered corner threes. Those are going to be like free throws, essentially. So if you can get those set up, like, okay, they're not going to guard, they're not going to be aware. Those are incredibly high value shots the Lakers are going to be able to get. The flip side is, I happen to think that teams are going to tighten up, good teams especially, are going to tighten up quickly on Knecht, because nobody likes being humiliated, even by a rookie, even one that is apparently like 62 years old, which is why Dalton Knecht wasn't drafted until 17.
Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more near you. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
Tyrese Maxey called out Joel Embiid.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Keith, this just coming out that Tyrese Maxey holding Joel Embiid accountable. I love it for Tyrese, but why does the franchise player of the Philadelphia 76ers need to be told to show up on time for work? That is what's happening right now.
Yeah, this is a bad look. And I'm just going to read something from the story that Shams had in ESPN. In the meeting, Maxey challenged Embiid to be on time to team activities, calling out the former league MVP about being late, in quotes, for everything, and how it impacts the locker room from other players to the coaching staff. That's not good. It's really not. And again, you got to give Tyrese Maxey the utmost credit for being the adult in the room to stand up in front of everyone and address this, right? But at the same time, when we look at it, we're talking about, it said the former league MVP, a guy who's annually one of the best players in the league. Like, top 5, right? Regardless of position. It's not good because this team is 2-11. And what's happening is they're saying his actions are impacting the team negatively. So you're supposed to be a guy who comes out there and has a positive impact. And like we talked about before, when you talk about Michael Jordan, you talk about Magic Johnson, you talk about Dr. J, all these other guys, they were the first person in the locker room, in the gym, and then they were the last person in the gym. It's that way if you go to Roman Catholic high school. The best player is typically the guy that's spending the most time in there. And the fact that Joel is being called out for being late, that's not good. It's not good at all. Now, I'm glad that Maxey did it. I give him the utmost respect because that's what a leader does. But the fact that you have to go to the MVP and say that is not good. It's not good at all for the Sixers.
So in the game last night, Joel Embiid did not attempt a free throw for the first time since the 2017-2018 season. So does Joel just not care at this point? Did he get the MVP? Did he get his bag and said, all right, well, this is the rest of my NBA career? Listen, I don't think that's the case because conference every single preseason, Joel is out there saying, well, we want to get to an NBA finals. That is our goal. That's what we want to do. Joel, where is that mentality? What are you doing? And how does this look for the other players in the locker room? You have a newer team this year. You have Paul George. You have Caleb Martin coming in. You have guys trying to figure out their chemistry with this team, and you're going to sit here and not show up? This is just unprofessional. If you do this in any other job, it's like us having a conversation and being like, okay, well, we need to do this at this time, and we need to show up 2 hours before we're going to be writing a story on the Philadelphia 76ers. If I show up at halftime of the game, I'm not going to have a story. That's not going to work. That's not how jobs work. Joel Embiid showing up late is just crazy to me. And each and every year, we have said Joel has not been the problem. It was Ben Simmons passing up the wide open dunk. It was James Harden in an elimination game taking 2 shot attempts. We have given Joel excuse after excuse. Don't get me wrong. He has battled time after time with his injuries, with the face, with the thumb. But this is not battling an injury. This is just not showing up. This is inexcusable to me. And now you're having Tyrese Maxey call you out, who's one of his really good friends. The only person that Joel has listened to throughout his career from a player standpoint that's helped his game is Jimmy Butler. So I hope that Joel takes this and actually lives by it and shows up and starts to improve. But this is ridiculous. I mean, no wonder why this team is going down the tube so early on in the season.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. And if you look at it, it's like you say, you hope. Well, I think Joel has no other option. I mean, right now, the fact that this stuff is leaking, you know, I haven't been on social media yet, but I can only imagine the responses. But I have been, you know, I have my phone with me, and I've been looking at some of these text messages I'm reading from people, and they're like a little bit livid over it because they're happy at Maxey, but they're livid that the guy who they feel is one of the best in the league, it has to be told to do something. Now, the thing is, Joel has to heed him because the problem is right now, I feel like if he doesn't, he could be out of here. Or he could, all the fans that adored him and love him and buying his jersey are going to be like, look, get this guy out of here. We're no longer with him. Let's just have Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey and Paul George and try to do it. And I think Joel does not want that to happen because the fans will be through with him. I felt like if he didn't play yesterday, there was going to be a lot of fans who were upset with him. And after his performance, like you said yesterday, it's one of those things. He normally does that rip through. That gets him to the foul line. We didn't see any of that, right? Mm-hmm. What we saw was a guy that either A, was going through the motions, or B, who just couldn't do it, right? And either way, that's still kind of bad when we're talking about a guy who struggled to score points, but last year he was scoring a point per minute played. So, you know what? Yeah, I think that Joel has to step up and he has to heed the advice. And it's funny that this stuff got leaked out too, because that means someone wanted it out there to let people know what Joel Embiid is not doing.
And I think people just wanted an answer, too, to why the 76ers look so bad and why did Nick Nurse take an hour to talk to the media? Was it just Nick Nurse ripping into the team? No, it was Tyrese Maxey having to step up and be the leader. And once again, I'm glad that Tyrese has that leadership in him, but you shouldn't have to do that to your franchise player. You don't see Bam calling out Jimmy Butler, although Jimmy's more out of his prime at this point, but you don't see Bam saying, Jimmy, you need to get in the gym. Jimmy, you need to show up. You know, and this is somebody that Joel Embiid and Jimmy have worked together in the team that they played last night. You don't see players calling out LeBron for showing up late to practice. You don't see players calling out Michael Jordan when Kobe played, rest in peace. You don't see people calling out Kobe saying, well, Kobe doesn't come into the gym really. He only comes in late to practice. Joel, what are you doing? Figure it out, because if you want to take this team to an NBA championship, this isn't the way to do it. What I will say is when we look at blaming other players for Joel Embiid's lack of performance in the playoffs year after year in terms of injury, I did look at the other players, but now I'm looking at Joel Embiid to blame. And he has gone on the podium and talked to the media about, I'm tired of people saying that I don't give a lot to this city. I have given my all to this city. I've played with a broken face. I've played with a torn thumb. I've played while I've been injured. I've risked my body out there to play for the city. We're not saying that you haven't done that. And I'm sure the fans appreciate that tenfold. We're not saying that. But what we are saying now is the fans have also backed Joel Embiid. The fans have also cheered when he went down in a game, and it's year after year of him being injured in the playoffs, and everybody's on their feet clapping, getting Joel Embiid ready for this playoffs, even though they know he's not at 100%, and the 76ers probably won't go anywhere if he's not at 100%. Yes, Joel, you have had the fans back, but the fans have also had your back at the same time. And now, if you don't shape up and get better and listen to Tyrese Maxey, this city is not going to have your back, because this is a poor way and a poor excuse to go out there and just say, I'm not going to show up, I'm not going to play my game, and I'm not going to be at my best, when people know that I am the franchise player of this organization.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's nothing that, I mean, you can't argue that. And you know, the problem is, you know, hopefully this is a wake-up call for the 76ers. This is something that they need. I mean, I still think that Joel is not playing the best that he can, and I still think as a result of the knee, right? I do, more so than him just being rusty. I think the knee is bothering him. But, you know, this is something that we've heard in the past, that you heard stories about. Yeah, Joel Embiid's not the hardest worker. He doesn't do this. He's him and Ben Simmons didn't get along. You know, it was, you know, but now all of a sudden this is coming out, and it really, you know, he has to get his stuff together. I mean, let's be real. He just has to, because Joel Embiid is a great talent. He's this and that, but this, if not, it could be the beginning of the end. I mean, you look at how fans are being extremely critical to him. I mean, about him. There's some people are like jumping off the bandwagon, and if he doesn't get his act together, you know, I'm sad to say that this could be it for him. And I think that he's smart enough to know that, you know what, I need to do this. It's not about Marcus Hayes anymore. It's not about, you know, getting mad at reporters for writing things. It's about now getting in the gym and doing what you have to do. Because, you know, if not, you can't blame anybody else. Right now, everybody's going to look at you if this team struggles.
So the saving grace here is that from what we've seen and from what we've known, Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid seem to be really close. It's not a situation where Ben Simmons and Joel kind of had a tiff and it was a little bit awkward. Tyrese Maxey and Joel seem like they are very good friends and that they have worked together and it has worked. So, Joel Embiid, you need to take this as a thought, as a conversation. Yes, Tyrese is coming out at you, but Tyrese also knows that this team can't win if you are not at 100%. And, you know, regardless of the injury here, Keith, you look at the injury and you say, okay, well, maybe his conditioning's not there. Maybe that the injury in the knee is really bothering him. Well, his conditioning's not going to be there if he's not showing up to practice and working hard. That's never going to change if you're not showing up. So yes, you can use your injury as an excuse, but what you can't excuse is you not showing up you not being there at practice on time, you not being there at meetings on time, because this can roll into something that we do not want to see. I need to see Joel Embiid take accountability, and that starts in the Memphis game.
Yeah, it does start in the Memphis game. It really does. I mean, he has to come out, and he has to come out on fire. I mean, you got to play hard. You need to get to the foul line. You got to be on the boards. You got to be down low. But it also starts with, Tyrese said, now you got to start coming to these meetings on time. You got to be the star. You have to be first one there, last one to leave. I mean, because again, you do have, see, the difference between this team is, although you do have young players, let's be honest, you have a lot of veteran guys who played with all-stars, who played with all NBA type guys. So they're probably looking around like, yo, what's going on here? This ain't how it's supposed to be. So he has to come out with the Memphis Grizzly game. He got to come out with Brooklyn. Like you said before a couple weeks ago, if it ain't a back-to-back, you got to play. Mm-hmm. You have to be out there and play. You have to be on the floor for your team. They have to come number one. If not, it's not going to end well for the 76ers.
Tyrese, I love you taking accountability, but Joel, you are the franchise player, and you need to show up to a meeting on time to set the precedent for the rest of this team.